Hello and welcome to the Outcast. I'm your host HC, and with me is.
Wolf.
And today I am not even going to try and do Benoit Blanc's accent because I tried off camera, off mic, and I failed completely. But either way, we're here to talk about the newest of the Knives Out mysteries, Wake Up Dead Men. And before we get started, in case you want to know our thoughts about the previous two films in the Now trilogy, we did an episode comparing and discussing them with our friends Jaya and Adri, who sadly couldn't be here for this one. But as you could go to the episode and hear the entire discussion. But in terms of what we personally thought, I love the first two films, and I'm not sure if I necessarily have a favorite because I think the first one was a really good blend of mystery and comedy, and the second one I think was lighter on the mystery, but it led up to a to a funny joke in my opinion, and I think overall the funnier side of it was really to my liking. But I like both films. I'm not sure which one is my favorite, but I will say maybe Knives Out just a tiny bit more because it's a bit more. It manages the balance a bit better, I think. But Glass Onion is no slouch. Like I've heard a lot of people call it. I still think it's a great movie. Wolf, what about you?
I would agree. I think I prefer the first one a bit more myself personally, but both are very fun and enjoyable films. Spoilers, I think this is my favorite one so far, though.
Okay, jumping into it. Yeah, honestly, agree. Yeah, let's just jumping into it. So, Wake Up Dead Man is the latest one. It just came out on Netflix a few, I think, yesterday at the time of this recording. But if you were lucky enough, Netflix did release it in theaters like they did with Glass Onion, and I'm so happy to say that I got to see it in theaters because holy shit, regardless if you think this is the best of the trilogy or not, can we all agree the cinematography in this one is just beautiful?
Mm, agreed.
Just some shots I want on my wall. Okay, this movie looks fantastic, and I like how each one kind of has its own vibe to it now. That
Mm.
in the first one there is a bit more bleakness and a bit more, this mention. So the movie has this bleak realism to it to some degree. The second one is a lot more colorful. It's a lot more vibrant because it's supposed to be this high society, high society thing. And this one, we are in a church, and Ryan Johnson is just basically like, I'm going to pull out all the gothic stuff I know because I want to make it gothic. And holy shit, this movie looks beautiful.
Mm.
I'm glad that you agree with me. This is very good to know.
No, I mean, yeah,
So,
you're right. There's nothing to disagree with there. I have nothing to add. You are right.
yeah, okay. Thank you about that. So, I guess we did just say that so far, I've seen it twice. Have you seen it? You've seen it once, I
I've seen
assume.
it once. I did not get to see it in theaters, but I mean, even on Netflix, again, you can still tell it's very beautiful, very vibrant, very, like, the
Mhm.
cinematography is great and everything. But I'm sure in theaters it was even more amazing. But yes.
Yeah, but yeah, either way, it's still if you're still wondering because we don't want to talk spoilers yet, like we said, it just came out on Netflix yesterday, so
Mhm.
this it's still personally we both agree this might be the strongest one. I walked out of the theater thinking I might like this one the most, and then having watched it again, I still think that. I'm not sure if something is going to change the more time passes or whenever the inevitable fourth movie is gonna come out. But yeah, this one I think I like the most. Wake Up Dead Man comes highly recommended if you are a Knives Out fan. Definitely.
So I don't think this would count as spoilers. This is very kind of this is a very like generalization. But I've always had a problem with the first two films where I've always felt like it's hard to figure out the mystery for yourself in the first two films. I felt there's like conclusions that they that the that
Ryan
fucking
Johnson, the writer director.
no. There's conclusions that the characters will come
Oh,
to within the movie.
oh,
That's
okay.
like
Mhm.
I've always felt like, I'm missing something here, and it's just not something I could ever get from the view of the film and everything.
Mhm.
I would say this one, and this is one of the reasons why I think it's my favorite film of the trilogy of the Knives Out stuff so far, is that this one felt like the most okay. I can like, there was stuff I missed watching it, but I can go back through and look and say, okay, all of the clues were there for me to see more so than the previous films, I feel. Maybe you disagree, maybe if you're watching this or listening to this, you disagree. But for me personally, I felt like, okay, I might have missed stuff, but all of it's there. I can gauge and figure things out on my own, right?
Having watched the movie two times now, there is a bit more here that you can figure out, and there's actually something funny about this that we'll talk about in spoilers. But yeah, I think in this one, Glass Onion somewhat did this too, but then again, the problem with Glass Onion to a lot of people is that the solution was just in your face.
Yeah.
The joke was essentially it is in your face. You just didn't want to believe it's in your face because that's the meaning of a glass onion, right?
Yes. Yes.
Uh, so in this one, I think it's a bit more. With this one, with glass onion, I will say that's a bit. There's a bit more of a leeway to it. There's a lot more clues that you can notice even on a second go, but
Hmm.
that's also because the mystery is kind of predictable because that's the joke essentially.
Yes. Like that's
With
the
the
premise of the film and everything. Yeah, I agree.
with Knives Out, the first one, there are some things that I caught on a rewatch, but yeah, I think the first one also kind of shows you that Blanc is this super detective essentially that
Hmm.
can even figure out the long reaches. He can just figure out everything, no matter how much you think a small detail wouldn't matter. That something is just not possible to figure out. He will figure it out. So with that one, I'll
I
probably
think
agree
this
with you, even
one.
though it's
Oh, go ahead.
in
I'll wait.
this one, though, like you said, it's a bit everything. There are some things that are like there is one thing we'll get to it in spoilers. Maybe you
Hmm.
agree with me. That feels a bit of a reach there, but otherwise, yeah, this is the most grounded one. Weirdly enough,
It definitely strikes a good balance between, okay, we want to give you enough clues, but also make it feel like Blanc is that super detective. Which, let me be clear, it is a bit of a nitpick coming from me, but usually when I watch mystery stuff, I like to be able to, can I figure out the mystery myself? Sometimes you can do this,
yeah.
sometimes the creator doesn't want you to do this. And I'm okay with either way. It's just a preference for me personally, right? Into what I prefer more than the other, right?
I
But I,
personally think that you should kind of be able to figure it out if you notice the details, because if you can't figure it out completely, without even either if there are no hands or something, then the solution can just come across as bullshit.
yes, I
So
mean, I,
that's,
I've always said, and I think I'll continue to say, the essence of a good mystery is the aha moment makes you feel like, oh, that makes so much sense. For the most
yeah,
part, if you walk away going from it going like, wait, what? I don't think I would say the mystery has done well, right? In
yeah,
in
because
what it does.
it wasn't. I'm not sure if we talked about this example before, but you know the movie Devil with the elevator.
Yes, yes.
So there, I remember that I said that the twist was stupid. That the devil was the old lady that died second, right?
Mhm.
And someone told me, but isn't it the point of a twist that you're not supposed to see it coming? And I say, yeah, yeah, it's good that I can't see it coming, but at the same time, I wouldn't see it coming if I found out Willy Wonka operated the elevator, right?
Mm.
It's just because I can see it coming doesn't necessarily make it a good twist.
Yes.
There needs to be more clues. There needs to be more hints.
Yeah,
Like
I
it
agree.
needs to make sense. This doesn't make sense.
Yeah, twist is again, right? A twist is make you is supposed to, I feel, for the most part, supposed to make you go, oh, have that feeling of, okay, Yeah, I get it.
If it's about a mystery, if it's
Yes.
about a mystery in this case, because there are some twists that,
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
you could have hints to them. I'm not saying that you can't, but it's also it depends on what twist you're doing. I will say it depends on the movie for me.
Yeah, like yeah, there's absolutely shows and movies where you can do twist endings or twists that come up within the second half and make you go, "Wait, what?" And that's okay because it's meant to be like that, right? And it's not a mystery thing. I would say mysteries are definitely set apart in that regard because of what they're trying to do and generally what I would say many people, maybe not the most, but what many people tend to go for them for, right? Because I would say a lot of people, not all, but a lot of people are some probably similar to me in that they also want to be able to try and solve the mystery before the characters can, or they want to see, okay, can I come to the same conclusion that Benoit Blanc comes to, right?
You say personally, as a mystery fan, I like to try and figure this out, but I'm also appreciative if sometimes if I get it wrong, but I feel like it was on me, not on the
Yes.
movie, then I enjoy that too,
Well, yeah,
because
like,
that also means I'm caught off guard.
and that's why I say
But
like being able to rewatch a film like this is really great because when you rewatch it, you're like, okay, I missed these clues. I'm looking back. Did these clues appear up in the film? Yes, or the show. Yes, then I think you're doing really good. If not, then we need to talk about that a little bit, right? Because that might be a bit of a problem. But
yeah.
overall, I think this film struck a really good balance between giving you enough clues to make you feel like, okay, I can solve this without the
Hmm.
film, while also not being as obvious about it as, say, Glass Onion was, right?
Yeah.
Now, again, I understand, and what HC already stated, right? The Glass Onion, that's kind of the idea, right? Is it's meant to be very obvious. That's the point of the joke. But I think this is a great balance between the
In
two
case
and a good third
in
film.
case you didn't like Glass Onion, which I know a
Yes.
lot of people didn't. So if the mystery was the main reason you didn't like it because it was so obvious, then I think this one is more up your alley,
I
definitely.
it's been a while, but I believe when we did the first two films, I believe I said I liked the first one more than the second one.
And I remember that because when we started,
I
you
said I
said that you
liked the
preferred
second
this.
one more than the first one.
Yeah, and because I had an idea, because I told you before this, like,
Yes, you
listen,
did.
you're the one that needs to catch up on both of them. So tell me in advance if you liked one over two, because if so, I have an idea for something. And then you're like, nah, I like two more, and it's like,
In the
okay,
middle of the
idea
show.
dead. And then like at the very last moment, it's like, I think I like this one. It's like, of course you do. The power of Audrey compelled you or something.
Listen, I will
And
admit she
speaking
made
of
very good points. All right.
speaking of powers compelling, let's actually talk about Wake Up Dead Man in more
Yes.
detail. So
Yes. Yes.
this is the point in the video where we say we loved it. Go watch it if you haven't. And
Hmm.
if you did, we are going to start talking about spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Still here? Okay, so you know what? We danced around this. So let's just talk about the mystery. So I walked away from the movie so confused because on the one hand, I figured out quite early that it's Martha, Glenn Close's character, who did it.
Hmm.
However, the motivation behind it, the way she did it, I had no freaking clue. It was this moment of I figured out who it was, but the explanation, I'm like, fuck, I missed all of that, but it makes sense in a weird way.
It. I think that's. I always admired how these films are very good at engrossing you within their world and their characters within this world. I would say the second film was a little bit iffy on this, but this film I think did it exceptionally well in that you can believe how these characters came to the conclusions they did, and more specifically, you can believe why these characters did what they did and the way they did it. It just makes sense for them, even if you look at it in a real world aspect where this is nonsense.
Mhm.
This is insanity.
And
But it feels
there's a point in the
believable for
movie
them.
Yeah, it's like there's even a point in the movie where Blanc says, "In our reality, in our real world," and I'm like, "Dude,
Mm.
have you seen the mysteries you solved? You took a lady and transformed her into a double of her dead sister to try and mess with rich people. Like, come on, it's
I mean,
but yeah,
it was good though.
yeah. But yeah, so I will say, so I said my bit. What did you think about the who? Did you figure it out?
So
Yes,
I had
no?
a feeling it was Martha, but like you,
Mhm.
I knew. I mean, we're in spoiler territory, so I was
Yeah.
fairly certain that like um Monsignor Wicks wasn't dead at first, or like like I had that kind of suspicion,
Well,
but
the title of the movie is "Wake Up Dead Man,"
well,
so
yeah,
there
I
is
mean,
kind of a thing that.
but even ignoring the title, right? Like I went in, going into it with just zero thoughts about anything of it. Yeah, I caught on fairly quickly. Like, all right, I think Martha's involved somehow. I don't know if she's the one who done it, but I know for a fact she's involved in something going on
Yeah.
here.
I kind of figured that she is because she's kind of, let's be honest, she's the person who runs the damn church. Like she files all the bills, she does all the calls, she's
And as they say
everything
in the film,
there,
she
and
knows
she
where the body's buried.
yeah, it's like she knows everything about this place, and so it kind of made sense to me that it is her. And also, when Wick supposedly comes back, she's the first one to start praying and praise and everything. And it's like, yeah, no, she if she didn't know that this was something about her was just like, no, no, she did it. I don't know how, but she did it. And
Mm,
yeah, so I think so in this way I think that yeah, I did manage to figure it out, but I'm also appreciative that I didn't really figure out the how or the means necessarily, that nothing like clicked in terms of who was in cahoots with her, who's against her, who's that, who's that. Because if you told me that she was going to poison Jeremy Renner's character and then freaking, dupe his body in acid, I'd be like, what the hell are you talking about? What movie are we watching? But so credit to the movie, they made it work.
mm, agreed. And
So
again, like we said before, it doesn't feel like an ass pull out of nowhere, right? It feels like, oh
yeah.
yeah, this is believable. Like it's, I guess it's weird to say, but again, I think it's a compliment to the movie that they make me feel like, yeah, I can see these characters doing this. I can see this happening within this world.
And in continuing the a Knives Out tradition, you can kind of tell that in each movie there's some sort of commentary about a certain group of people. Like in the first one it's about there's this rich family who's like essentially against the immigrant helper, right?
Mm,
It's like how we view immigrants and how and like the power dynamics between them. The second one is totally anti-capitalism, anti-rich people, and especially anti-Elon Musk, right?
yeah.
And now this one is basically anti-religion to some degree. And as someone who grew
Well,
up in an environment that's very religious and had a lot of religious people tried to steer his way in life to the point that I just became sick of it. Thank you, Ryan Johnson. This was made for me.
mm. As someone who
but
also grew up in a religious household, to me, I would say it's a little bit less than anti-religious and more, in my opinion, that I think it's
maybe
trying
not
to.
anti-religious, but like anti,
Well,
you say
it's
it.
anti certain religious messages, right? Like again, I grew up. I think we grew up in very different religious households, right? Like you,
Well, I'm Jewish and
yes,
you are not, so
yes.
there's that.
So
But
growing up,
I think, and I should mention though, my house isn't necessarily religious, but the environment I grew up in
yes,
had a lot of
yes,
religious people in it,
yes.
so that kind of yeah.
So yeah, like so yeah, you grow up in a religious environment, and then I grew up in a actual religious household, right? where my family believed in Christianity and they were Christians, etc. And I went to church every Sunday as a kid. Like I've been there, I've done all that, and many people have. And I would say, to me at least, it came off as it came off as very specifically anti-religious, anti to certain messages that some religious sects, especially within Christianity, will preach, which is very much, that warrior doctrine, that that violent rhetoric that some Christian, that some religious, messages will preach and everything like that. Not just a Christian thing,
Mhm.
but regardless, you get the idea, right? That can be a
Yeah.
Christian thing, but I would say it's that, and also using that and getting that involved within politics as well, and how problematic that can become.
There's even a point in Blanc's first real scene in the movie, and we'll get there. He does say that there's a line he says that I want a T-shirt out of
Mm,
that, like that he says that he kneels down to, not to sin, but that he kneels down to logic and facts or something like that.
yes,
I don't remember the quote exactly, but I want a T-shirt of that. That needs to be a fucking T-shirt. I will buy it.
it was a good line.
But
Agreed.
but also when the oh my god, I forgot his name. The Father Judd. When
Yes.
Judd asks him about, and he goes, "Oh, this is sometimes it seems like it's just a way to justify racism and homophobia and all that other stuff." And so this is the point where I'm like, okay, I see what you're trying to say here, and that's why I also think it's interesting that despite let's be honest here. Blanc is not in his area. He's not around his people. You could argue that he never was in any of those movies, but and considering that we know for a fact he is canonically gay too, this is an environment that under any other circumstances wouldn't necessarily accept him. You know what I mean? But he still sticks around to help. He still wants to solve this case, if anything, just for the checkmate feeling of it, and we will get there. But you can tell that this is one case where he's kind of out of his depth in terms of what the case is, what the environment is. This is one that he doesn't really have any. This is a community that they wouldn't necessarily accept him. You get what I mean?
Well, I mean, I'll give credit to current Pope. Apparently he's fairly accepting, but that's a very recent development
You see, though,
considering the
that's
past.
that's that's an exception to the rule, though. And again, I know I'm generalizing, but in the way Blanc says it in this movie, you could make the assumption he probably doesn't have a good history with this
Yes,
environment.
yes, yes, yes. And we should also be specific as well, right? We're dealing with Catholicism here. We're dealing with uh, that religious branch of Christianity, I guess you'd say.
Yeah. Well,
Which,
so anything else? Anything you have to say about this since you actually grew up in this kind of household? I don't really have anything to add.
so I didn't grow up in a Catholic household, so there are definitely some things that I cannot speak to because, believe it or not, that is different. Yeah, growing
I'm
up in
sure.
like a
I know that it is different. I just
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
know you went there. So yeah,
No, no, fair, fair.
that's
But yeah, like growing up in a more Christian focused household with, oh crap, I forget like the denomination it was. You get the idea, like very, for people who live in the U.S. and are familiar with it, very Southern Christian household, not Catholic household, like many people might be familiar with. So similarities, but still differences as well, right? But yeah,
yeah.
I think they did well at striking a good balance between, hey, we want to show you that Catholic side of it and what that means for people and how they come to this. Like Father Judd, right, is a great example, and how he came to, like, in the movie, find God and everything like that, and how that worked
Mhm.
for him and what he's
And
looking to get
also
out of it and
that
what he wants to give to other people from it as well.
and also because he does gonna say they open with it that he was a boxer who killed someone in the ring.
Mm,
So already you kind of this is like when you think about a priest in a church regard, like I'm not saying they can come from every background, right? But this is not necessarily what you would imagine for a person like this, right? And also you kind of look at him, he has this, he reminds me a bit of Linguini from Ratatouille, and I looked up, it's not the same, it's not the voice actor. But there's this kind of there's this thing that you don't really know how to approach this guy. You don't know how to read him, and then you hear this guy killed someone.
I mean, we should
Okay,
mention his last name, right? Is Duplantis, which I mean, I see you film kind of rhyming with
yeah,
duplicity there. Like, I get you.
yeah. And again, there's also this thing that he does say, because the first thing he does is to take Wix's confession, and and Wix's confession. Let's be honest here, it's not like honestly to them is a sin, right?
Mhm.
But he tells them about how many times he masturbated in great detail, right? It's like this is this is kind of the job now. And we also know that this is not necessary. They also say because it's Wix kind of scares new people away, but this church is just essentially these few people, like as they call the core group, and no one else really goes there. And I think that's kind of smart because, on the one hand, you say what you have to say about these establishments and about how they're run and everything, but you also show that this is an extreme case. It's not everyone.
Yeah, we
There
should.
are
Yeah, no, go ahead. Sorry.
no, just saying that I kind of like that they are playing it smart in terms of saying this is just a specific church. It's not that all churches are like this. This is a very specific church that just scares people away, and the only people who keep going there have some sort of a reason to do it.
Well, yeah, I was gonna add on, right? Like, it doesn't shy away from, yeah, these priests are people too. They're not perfect, and we're gonna show you like they also have problems, and like it doesn't shy away from trying to like, oh, Catholicism good, religion good, it's okay, don't worry about anything, don't question all that. No, it gives you like the good and the bad. Like, hey, this isn't perfect, this has problems, and here's someone like the Monsignor Wicks here who has problems and
And
isn't
he
perfect and
and
is actively being hurtful.
Also, how ironic is that this guy played Thanos, right? I don't know, just jumped into my head at some point. That's like, yeah, you know what? If Thanos were a priest, this is how it would be. Just saying. So, so yeah, agree with you there. Now, one thing I want to talk about is, and because we talked about it in the previous episode we did about these movies, um, I kind of like how in this one they really hold off on introducing Blanc into the plot. You notice that?
Yes, they give you a long time with just the characters and building them up and letting you get to know everyone before they get Blanc involved, which they've always kind of done this to a bit, I think.
In Knives Out, the we talked about is that in Knives Out you could make the argument that Blanc isn't really the main character. It's Marta who's the
Mm.
main character. Blanc is just the detective there. And
Martha
then in
again.
Glass on, uh, what?
Two Marthas, I just realized.
Oh yeah, you're holy shit, you're right. What are the odds? It came full circle, a perfect trilogy.
Mm.
But so in the first movie, there's Marta, who's like who is the main character, and Blanc is more of an assistant role, but he's also a main character because he's the detective. And then in Glass Onion, Blanc is more the main character than Helen. If anything, again, kind of a point that people are either going to be with or against is that the movie kind of switches up on you at some point because it starts with Blanc being the main character, and suddenly you're introduced to this other story that took place to the sidelines, and it's like, wait, so is Helen the main character or Blanc? And in this one, the movie starts with Blanc. You see Blanc sitting down to read the letter, and then we just don't get him until like close to an hour in.
Yeah, pretty
That's
much.
that's interesting though. It's a it's a it it's interesting to see. Just I guess taking criticisms from the past movies, but also just giving each one its own way of doing its own way of doing things. And I kind of like that. Again, you are kind of expecting Blanc to show up, and he shows up pretty late into the movie, but it doesn't feel like the movie lacks him either.
No, I agree with you. I think it's a good idea though, because Blanc isn't, I would say, the most developed character, but I also would say that
Oh,
he doesn't need to be.
I guess kind of a
At least
comparison
not yet,
piece.
maybe. I think this is
I
something you can build up over films until eventually you do something where, okay, now we're gonna really heavily focus in on Blanc, right?
Interesting you say that because I think this one throws something in there a bit, but
Mm,
also I think to some degree you could argue that Blanc is like, for lack of a better example, kind of like Superman. That he's supposed to be the guy that you look up to. You're not necessarily supposed to look up to him in order to develop or do something. He's just the guy that comes to save the day because he's just that awesome about it. And I think all three movies do a good job showing that. Glass Onion does give him a bit more to show that he's good at complicated things. He's not good at simple things, right? Because he can't figure out a game like Among Us, for us, for example. But uh, but in overall, he's not necessarily a character that's supposed to develop because again, this is not necessarily his story. This is Father Judd's story.
yes.
He's the one that develops.
Yes, absolutely.
And to that degree, though, one thing I like about that, and they don't focus on it a lot, but there's a very interesting bit here where Judd actually is the first one to really call Blanc out and tell him, listen, I'm done with this investigation. I don't care about your checkmate moment. I just want to go back to running this church. And Blanc doesn't really take it too deep. He just suddenly realizes that it gave him another lead for the investigation. But it was interesting to see someone call Blanc out that at the end of the day, he does, like I said earlier, he doesn't really have any personal gain to gain out of this. He's not necessarily learning anything from it. It's just the thing that he needs to do his job because he likes winning. He likes having that idea, that moment of got you.
Hmm. No, I enjoyed that moment because you can tell like this is, and I mean this is kind of referring back to that moment you mentioned just a bit ago, right? Where like there is something for Blanc here, and that's I would say like this is the thing that I think I enjoy them doing is there's a little bit of Blanc you get development wise in every film, and especially towards the end of the film, right? This moment comes back into play also with
Yeah.
Blanc doing something, which is very interesting.
You know what? We can kind of talk about it because in the previous two, there is the point where he just starts giving it all away. He starts explaining everything that happened, and when he cracks it, right? In the
Yes.
first one, is when he calls out ransom for how he planned the entire murder. In the second one is the brilliant Miles Brown is an idiot rant, which so many freaking gifs of that. I just love that.
It's great
And
though.
in this one, for one, he enters the scene by playing the piano because he wanted to be dramatic. Like fucking hell, I love this guy. But then he starts going over the impossible crime of how Wicks died in that little room, and he gives a really good explanation. Like finally you get it. Suddenly everything starts falling into place. Like holy shit, this is the moment. This is, and he even says this is the point where Benoit Blanc is going to get his checkmate. But then but then and what's interesting is that he knows Marta did it. He knows Marta is the one.
Mhm.
He knows Marta is the one who was pulling the strings and everything. But as soon as he's about to say anything, he actually gets this revelation, like the Damascus thing
Yeah, something
that
Judd
Judd
mentions
told.
earlier in the film.
Yeah, and this is the point where he just tells everyone, you know what? I can't solve this one. I can't do that. This is the one case I can't solve. But then when everyone leaves, he says it's not that he didn't solve it. He totally did. But he decided to give up the checkmate because he wanted to give Marta an honest, he wanted to give her an honest attempt to, to confess her way. He wanted, it's like he could have just said, checkmate, Martha did it, take her away. But no,
As he
he
said in the
wanted
film,
to give
mercy
her.
to the guilty.
Hmm. And I like that he told him, "Would you like to confess now that about all of it?" Like he gives her this choice, and I think that's a really good moment for him because again,
Yes.
he has nothing to really gain from in any option. So it's not. It's
I mean,
nice though to see that.
he loses with this option because of the one character
Mhm.
uploads, a video to
Yeah.
YouTube.
Hmm. Yeah, like Wix's actual biological son. That's a twist that I didn't see coming. But
That was probably the
yeah, he.
weirdest one that was a little out there, but it does
Mhm.
make sense for the character considering Wix's mom and how she was. It makes sense he would make the same mistakes.
Yeah, but I
But that one
also,
was
but
definitely like,
again, like you
what?
said, like you said though, interestingly, Blanc sorta not really loses here, and it's a loss that he kind of gave himself. He
Mhm.
because he knew the answer. He had his checkmate. He just decided to go. He just decided to respect the victim's ways about it, and you know what? Go him.
Yeah. No, it makes for a good moment for Blanc, and you get to learn a bit more about his character and the type of person he is, right? Which I think is interesting and is potential for a good setup for for another film in the future as well, depending on what they want
Yeah,
to do with that. But it
I
just makes
know
for an
that there
enjoyable
are.
moment.
Mhm. I know that there are plans, but what exactly they're going to do beyond me.
Mhm.
Right now though Ryan Johnson and Daniel Craig seem to be like making these movies, so I think we're going to in 3 years we're going to be here to talk about the next one,
Fair,
supposedly.
fair. Well, it also makes for as well, right? A good. I don't really say twist, but it just makes for a very different sort of thing. Like we don't have Blanc doing the tell all at the end of it all, right? We have.
He kind of does. He just stops because he realizes something.
Well, yeah, but
That's
we get a different character to finish out with that, right? And I
Mhm.
think it works for this film, and especially it works for who I would say you feel like is the main character of this film, which is Judd, Father Judd,
Mhm. Yeah.
and his story, and he gets the ending, he gets an ending that kind of fits for him.
Yeah, because he keeps saying one of the first things is he says that he wants to hug the world, not fight it, right? The way he does with his hands, and you can kind of tell that he does the same thing again after they settle the entire thing with Wix's son. That he's gonna go. Our laws are going to be over your ass because we need to find because of
Yeah,
that
we haven't talked
jewel.
about what the actual at all.
Yeah, we didn't talk about the jewel yet, which, but to be fair, kind of fitting to how it's incorporated into the story. But yeah,
So yeah, the
but
actual mystery here.
yeah. So yeah, you wanna take the lead?
Yeah,
Go
so
for it.
just given like a quick rundown, the full mystery here is in the past, right? Wix's grandfather had a daughter who was eh, who you're led to believe was like this harlot and this whore and just awful human being altogether, right? That's what you're led to believe. And as you go through the film more and more, you kind of start to realize, and the characters, specifically Judd, also start to realize, oh, this person actually wasn't bad. She was just excuse me, sorry.
All good.
She was just kind of trapped here because of her father's decisions and made out to be the bad, awful person when really she wasn't, right? Again, very much commentary on church and religious families and how they treat women, and I mean, how they treat their children, really, as well, but, or can. Not all religious families do this, but many do.
Actually,
But, anyways,
real quick, I noticed this on a second viewing though. In the first flashback where we see her going into the church and start to destroy it, thinking that she just did it out of anger.
yes.
When she walks in, the moon is red, but when we see the flashback again later, when we realize that she destroyed the church in order to find Eve's apple, the moon is blue.
Yes.
That is crazy
Yes.
attention to detail. That's
Yes.
awesome.
It's also just such good, like you said, right? Cinematography and how it sets
Yeah.
things up. Like, oh, so good. But yeah, like her father had this great fortune, which was all preserved into one diamond, basically one, like, very vastly expensive jewel. And he hid it and died hiding it, and she couldn't find it, and so she went, well, a little crazy, a little mad, but again, like, that was her one way out, her one way to make a better life for herself after everything she had to put up with, all that, right? But then the mystery for this show, so that sets up like that tidbit, but the mystery for the show ends up being that, oh, Wix is also not a great person, surprisingly
Yeah.
enough,
Just in a different way.
just in a very different way, yes. And so, we end up setting up the story of, okay, Wix is murdered, obviously. And then you find out through the film, like, okay, he's not a bad person. And the people who are closest to him, this very, centric flock members, the people who have
Yeah, like
stuck with the church through thick and thin.
the core group, as they call them.
Yes.
They are just, his biggest supporters that have always been there for him, and he kind of promised them something, and for lack of a better term, they just don't really have anywhere else to go. They just kind of owe it to Wix, essentially.
Yeah. Or they're afraid of
Besides,
him, or, other
oh, they're afraid
things.
of him. Yeah. Hmm.
But yeah, like, so they all end up having different reasons to kill him, and wanting to kill him, or hating him anyways, and even Judd as well himself to some degree.
Yeah.
And then we kind of go from there, and it expands, and we find out, okay, so who actually ends up? I guess technically Martha's the murderer, but also uh the doctor,
The gardener,
the
the doctor, yeah, Jeremy Renner's
Jeremy Renner's
character, and
character,
also.
is really the murderer at the end of it all.
Mm, kinda, but because essentially it's him, it's Marta, and it's the gardener, Marta's romantic partner. It's the three of them together
Hmm.
essentially. And by the way, this is such a complicated but also kind of brilliant plan how they literally got rid of Wix's body and put Thomas Sandman from Spider-Man 3. I'm sorry, I can't remember the actor's name.
Yeah.
But they put him in, and then they put him dressed up as Wix in this coffin, and he just waited there for the right fucking moment until he had to wake up, and they had to fake the whole thing. If Judd wasn't there, that would have been the perfect fucking crime,
Mm.
and that's pretty damn sick. Also, also, I just kind of like how when Blanc and by the way, Mila Kunis, what a surprising casting for a police officer, right? For like a sheriff,
But she
she
does
did
good
great.
though. Yeah, she's like
Yeah,
great here. I know a lot of people
like
are like iffy on her, but she did great here, I felt.
I wouldn't say that I necessarily care for Warner because she's just making the types of movies that I am not necessarily into.
Fair, fair.
But credit where credit is due. She did great here. I barely even recognized her, so good
At
on
first.
her,
I mean,
really.
to be fair, I don't think she's been in a lot of films recently either though, right?
I can't tell you. I'm not. I
I mean,
didn't keep
fair. You
up.
don't watch a lot of the films she's put out, but I don't think she's been in a film in quite some time. But maybe I'm wrong.
Well, either way, regardless of that, because we mentioned her, credit where credit is due. She did great here,
Yeah, did
and
good.
I just love the scene where she and Blanc go into the tomb, and they open up one and see that there's just nobody there. And when she mentions, "Oh God, well, this is some Scooby Doo shit going on here," and all Blanc can do
Isn't it
is say
Scooby
in
Dooby
his
Doo?
accent, "Scooby Dooby Doo." I don't know. That got me. Also, you know what? Scooby Doo crosses over with a lot of weird shit. Give me a Scooby Doo Knives Out
I mean,
crossover. I would watch the shit out of that.
I wouldn't be surprised if it happens. It very well could.
I
If there's a
mean,
new
how
Scooby
many
Dooby
times?
Doo show,
I mean, how many times did he cross over with Batman and the WWE wrestlers and whatever
and many,
and
many
Iron
other
Ships?
things.
Yeah, Knives Out is not that out of the question, people. It's Scooby Doo. It's mysteries. It's right there.
Yeah,
Now, just put Veronica Mars there too, and I'm in. I'm sold. I'm throwing money on the screen. Somebody make this. But
mm.
anyway,
But yeah, basically the idea comes down to Wix figures out where the diamond is, and he's gonna quit being a pastor and go do other things. And Martha's like, "Oh God, this thing that Wix's grandfather told me to never reveal is gonna be revealed again, and it's
yeah,
Eve's apple. It's the root of all
it's this
evil,
diamond. Yeah,
as
it's this
far as she's
diamond that's
concerned."
worth a lot of money, and kind of like Eve's apple. It's a matter of temptation. Once you
Yes.
have it, what can you do with it?
Yes. And so she's like, all right, we're going to kill Father Wicks and then make him into this martyr who rises again. And it's going to be the perfect story. And it's going to reset the church and the flame for religion. And then we destroy Eve's apple. We get rid of it, whatever. And Jeremy Renner's character, Dr. Nat, says, yeah, nah, I'm gonna take the diamond for myself. And that's when Samson is killed and Judd gets blamed for a second murder.
Yeah, that's wild,
Yeah, we
actually.
should also admit, like, we should also point out that, like, Martha's kind of been, and like, I mean, everyone kind of believes, but Martha and the rest of them have been very much like pointing towards Wicks died by Judd's hand, right? Like he was their fall guy,
Mhm.
basically.
Yeah. Which good thing he came there, but also I think it might as well just have been a happy coincidence. But yeah, they like blame the new guy also because since he's like second to only Wicks and nothing more, you could make the argument that who would want him dead than the apprentice.
Mm. Agreed.
And so yeah, but the one funny thing about Eve's Apple though is that so second time I watched this with my mother because she also likes these kinds of movies,
Yeah, very fair.
and when they zoom in at the new cross that Judd put there at the end of the movie,
Mm.
and she's like, "Oh, they're gonna show that the diamond is like on the cross on something," and then when you actually see that the diamond is inside the cross, he's like a part of the, he's like in the Jesus portion of it. She has this moment of holy shit, I called something. Yes. No, just a funny thing because yeah,
Fair,
it is
fair.
pretty cool that he keeps it there because they essentially this diamond has caused so much freaking problems for this damn church that you know what, might as well put it out there so that nobody can see it.
Well, it's also, an interesting thing too, right? Because like he's continuing on what Martha wanted and what Wicks's father wanted as well,
Yeah.
or grandfather wanted as well, because like because this thing has caused so many problems, he's hiding it away, making sure no one can have it, so it can't continue to cause more problems. Even
Yes.
though Cy Wicks's son basically
Yeah.
definitely wants
Well,
it.
not basically. He is his son.
No,
It's
is his son,
just
yeah, not
come.
basically.
Mhm. But he implies that he's still going to chase that diamond down. And but again, considering how these movies go, I doubt that's leading up to something. It's just up for you to figure out. It
No,
is.
it's just a thing that I think like, oh, he'll keep it hidden, and you can decide whatever you want to decide about that. What happens to the diamond?
Yeah. And speaking of, we didn't really talk about the other characters in this. Because we talked about Sai and Jeremy Renner's character and everything, but I will say the other side characters are none of them I felt necessarily connected for or didn't really care. I did like the sort of karma that the Arthur guy suffered. He got his that he got his best-selling book again, but it's by a bunch of old people that don't really give a shit about everything else he did. That's pretty funny, and especially when you hear Judd's narration going, "Oh well, the Lord has a sense of humor sometimes."
Mm-hmm. I thought that was really good too.
that that's
Yeah,
funny.
I will say, like, for having a role in the murder, Jeremy Renner's character was kind of like i- uh, in the background a bit too much, maybe. Like you don't do
Yeah.
too much
Well,
with him.
Yeah, but then again, he's the one that gets them all because he's actually involved in the murder itself, and he gets more in general. Like there is the character Simone, right, in the wheelchair.
Yes,
Honestly, she was just kind of there.
true.
Also, fun fact: this has nothing to
As
do with anything, but
was
goddamn,
Kerry
this is
Washington's
the
character too.
second. I just want to say this is the second Netflix thing this year which had a character named Simone, and it kind of makes me laugh because my God, I have a friend named Simone, and it's just funny to me how much they are nothing like her. It's just a sighting, but you know what? Netflix twice a year. Are you not telling me something? I need to know some things, please. That's all. Just wanted to point it out.
I would say if there's any criticism, I would well, excuse me. Ugh. I would say
All good.
voice problems. If there's
All
any
good.
criticism I would level at this film, it's that, and I could be wrong about this, but and this might just be a me thing, but what I would say is that it's very easy to, okay, these characters didn't do it by process of elimination just because there's not much going on with them. Even if
Hmm.
you can say, oh, it feels like they might have done it because of X, Y, or Z, you just by the way the character acts within the story as it progresses and moves forward, you can, there's almost this, or at least for me, there's this sense of like, I can tell they didn't do it.
Hmm. Yes.
So if there's any criticism I would level at this film, it's that it's that compared to the previous films where it felt like, yeah, I could see multiple characters doing this potentially, right?
Hmm. And in general, I think just the characters in the other, regardless if you like them or not, right? There was
Mhm.
something about them that felt more memorable than here. Here,
Yes.
they were a group, and yeah, I can tell you one of them is an author, one of them is a doctor, one of them is a lawyer, so on and so forth.
Mm.
But I couldn't really give you more than that. Like I would remember, I would like remember, let's say Lionel from Glass Onion, that he's
Mhm.
the scientist guy, and he's like the more level-headed of the group. He's like the straight man almost,
Yes.
or that, mm, or
Or
that in
Miles
the
Braun. You don't forget
yeah.
Miles Braun.
I'm not really counting him because he's the
Fair,
guy who
fair.
did it, right?
Yeah,
It's
fair,
not
fair.
that, but let's say if we go to like let's say Michael Shannon's character in the original Knives Out, you know that I remember about him. He's the guy. I hope I remember this correctly. It's been a while, but
It has been a
he's
while.
he's essentially the son of the guy who died because he's the one who like managed the rights and to the books and everything. You see, I remember it. Here I just know, oh, this guy's a writer, this guy's a doctor, this chick is a lawyer, this girl is like is in a wheelchair and she plays the cello or something, and that's really it. Mo- they don't really have that oomph to them.
Mhm.
Arguably, it's not a deal breaker, but
No.
I think the previous films had stronger personalities for the side characters,
Yes.
personally.
It made them stand out more and made you question, or at least for me, right? It made you question a bit more as to who could have done it because they stood out enough, right? Comparatively to each other, right? This film, I think, definitely struggled with that a bit more, like you said, right? I can tell you, oh, they were this thing, but I can't tell you much about their character, as much about their character or their personality.
If
I,
anything, I could tell you more about Mila Kunis than all of the other ones, and she's not on the poster. I don't think she is.
no.
You have the
Yes,
thumbnail on the thing.
she is on the
I don't
poster,
think.
very much
Oh,
in the
she is.
background though. Like she's,
Okay. Well, but you get what I'm saying, though.
yeah,
She's not.
like, and she also plays a very small role in this, but yeah.
Yeah, but then again, I remember more about her than the that core group that's supposed that's supposed to fill into the family in the first movie, or
Hmm.
the disruptors in Glass Onion.
Yeah.
So. mm,
I,
But again, it doesn't kill anything because, if
no.
anything, because I would even say they don't get much to do, but they get the job done, and I do, and I also don't really care because when the movie is about Judd and Blanc, which for the most part it is about them, they're great. They are
Hmm.
carrying
Hmm.
this movie. So
So yeah, it's
I'm good
definitely
with
one
that.
of those things of maybe that'll be a problem for you, maybe it won't be for at least what it sounds like for HC and for myself as well. I don't think it was much of a problem, but I do think it's a criticism you could potentially see people level at the film that these characters didn't stand out enough to make me feel like okay, they could have been the one that also did it. You know, it gave
Mhm.
them motivation and reason, but that isn't necessarily always enough to make a character stand out enough to make you question who done it, right?
Yeah,
And I think
understand.
that's
Understandable.
definitely like, and I would say personally that's definitely something you want for a whodunit, obviously, but it's a fine balance to strike where you want these characters to stand out, but you don't want them to be overpowering, right?
Hmm. That's also true. Yeah.
So
So,
it's a
but
hard balance to strike.
overall, but overall, yeah. If I have one gripe, is that I think that the side characters were a bit this time around, but not that big of a deal at the end of the day.
No,
I'm glad though that what I came to see Blanc and what his sidekick of the week are gonna do, and they more than delivered.
yeah,
Also, I
there's
guess you can. And if you want to count Wix as a side character, he's great. He has enough
he definitely stands out
to
enough.
carry that. Yeah. Hmm. Anything else to say?
No, I think again, there's a few criticisms I would levy at this film, but I think for the most part, the strengths of this film stand out far more to me than whatever criticisms or weaknesses I do think it has, and that's why I think it's my personal favorite of the three. So of the three that we've
Yeah,
gotten so far.
agreed.
I I do want to mention one thing. I loved their use of the sun going behind the clouds and it getting darker and brighter as well. And you mentioned this before, the
Mhm. Yeah,
cinematography in certain
the
moments.
lighting. Yeah, the lighting play here. As someone who in film school hated dealing with lighting, right? I would just get the lighting guy and tell them, "This is what I want. You do your thing. I
You
am not
figure it
touching
out.
that." No, like I would tell them, "This is what I want," but like in terms of how to get it, figure it out. I trust you. I'm going to deal with the other stuff. So
Hmm.
see everything that has this level, I just have the biggest appreciation for because I can't figure this out for the life of me. So
Fair.
as a personal side of this, whoever was in charge of the lighting in this movie, give this person a raise
Hmm.
or those people a raise.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah,
all.
did exceptionally well with that.
Mhm. Definitely agree. So
I mean,
one quick thing to kind of close off, I suppose. If you notice, in Knives Out, they reference Hamilton, and then in Glass Onion, you have Leslie Odom Jr. playing a character. Now, in Glass Onion, they reference Jeremy Renner, and here he is in this movie.
hmm
Do do you remember any specific
Lord,
celebrity dropouts or something that we now have a clue for who's going to be in the fourth one?
uh, I didn't pay attention to anything like that,
Eh,
so I don't think they
we
did, but they might have.
Scooby Doo. The
Oh
next one
no,
is
they
the
did say
Scooby Doo
Scooby
one.
Doo.
Like,
Yeah, maybe you'll get one of the maybe you'll get one of the actors from the Scooby Doo films. Oh,
no, no,
what's
no.
the guy who
Listen.
plays Shaggy? Get him.
Yeah, I was just about to say, get fucking Matthew Lira in there,
He'd be a
because
great little
god damn
sidekick
it.
for Benoit Blanc.
No, I don't even care if he's the murderer, but just let him do something else outside of the FNAF movies. Where from what I know in the first one he's just there for 5 minutes, but apparently he's also in the second one for only five
Hmm.
minutes. Like, give him something to do, damn it. He's a
Yeah,
great actor. He deserves it.
or we just get Scooby Doo in Benoit Blanc
You know,
Knives Out fourth
no,
film.
no. Listen. You know what? This is never gonna happen, right? There's no way in hell this is gonna happen. But but with Netflix supposedly buying Warner Brothers, if the next film is going to be Benoit Blanc teaming up with the live action Scooby Doo actors from the 2000 movies, the ones that James Gunn wrote, with
Oh
Matthew
my
Lillard
god.
and Sarah Michelle Gellar and all of these other. If this is the next one, I'm camping outside of the damn theater. I want to
I'm
see
here
that
for
shit.
it. Yeah. It's gonna be
It's
dumb,
not
but
gonna
I'm here
happen.
for it.
It's not gonna happen. Not by a long shot. But you know what? A man can make jokes.
Mm.
So
But at the very least, yeah, get the guy who plays Shaggy. What's his name again?
Matthew Lira,
Yeah,
I
Matthew.
think that's
Get
how you
get
pronounce it.
get him in. Like that'd be a great little cameo and reference.
I get him. But so maybe as I watch Wake Up Deadman a few more times, I'll figure a reference out, and I'm like, yep, here we go. This person is gonna be in there. So
But yeah, we do
so for
know.
a full, but
Oh yeah, go ahead.
yeah,
Sorry.
what? Uh, no, you want to say
No, I
something?
was
I
just
was
gonna say
about
we
to
do know
ask.
a fourth film is coming out. We do know
Well,
they're formulating ideas for a fourth film potentially.
mhm. From what I know, Ryan Johnson and Daniel Craig are in if they decide to do one, and I assume that Ryan Johnson is already working on something. Again, it seems like that each one of those movies is coming out 3 years after the last one, so guess
Hmm.
we'll see you in 2028 for the
I mean,
next one. But
as said, they've been pretty clear, right? They only want to keep doing it as long as they're both having fun still doing it, right? And the audiences enjoy it. And so far, they've been doing quite well with that. So
yeah,
it's
so
hard to sit here and say what you'd want for a fourth from a fourth one of these, but
that's something I was about to ask you. In case if you were given the reins for a fourth one, where would you set this up in? What other
oh
sort of
man,
community can Benoit Blanc tackle?
oh man, you know, hmm, that's hard
I
because these
I
films
have
are
an idea. I
so.
have two ideas. I have two ideas,
You
if I
go for
may.
it. You go for it. I don't have anything. I'll be honest. I have no idea
Okay.
here.
So one thing that I think, again, keep in mind, I'm not saying this is gonna happen. I'm not saying this is what I want necessarily. This is just, I think that could be fun and interesting if they decided to go for it.
Yeah.
For one, have have a mystery set in like a fandom, or like a group of people that's going to like a Comic Con or something like that,
Oh
like
wow,
a fandom
wild
group of something where something happens there, because we all know fandoms can be toxic. I'm a Sonic fan, of course I know that. That's my everyday basically. So
would be
yeah,
interesting.
let's have a fandom mystery. Let's see what happens if you put Benoit Blanc in a con with cosplayers and all that
Oh
shit.
man, what if it
That,
was what if it was a mystery convention?
yeah, that's it. Like maybe like have it in like a convention that settles around mystery stuff,
Nancy Drew or
maybe.
something.
Yeah, there you go. Like that could be interesting. Just imagine Benoit freaking Blanc going to a convention, having to ask the panel moderators or like the person who runs the con or something, or just trying to mingle with cosplayers who might be like the core group of this one. The
This
movie
is dumb,
writes
but I like
itself.
it.
Like you say it's dumb, but wouldn't you want to see it? The
No, it'd be
the the
fun.
mystery
It'd be
it
very
writes
fun.
itself
I agree with
essentially.
you. It's a good call.
Okay. Second idea. This one is a bit more reaching for it, and it's a bit more. But can you imagine a mystery in a fast food chain, or like just a
Hmm.
restaurant chain in general? Like maybe like a gourmet kitchen where the chef dies and everyone in the
Well,
kitchen is
you
a
gotta
suspect. And
you gotta have the chef that dies be Gordon Ramsay, right?
no, 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 no. Gordon Ramsay is going to stay safe and away from it. If anything, I would just want him to cameo.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Oh, you know what? No, Benoit Blanc has to decide who it is, and Gordon Ramsay is both the angel and the devil on his shoulders.
Gordon Ramsay is
So,
his sidekick here. No.
can you imagine? Blanc, I need you to help me figure this murder out in 5 minutes. Oh, I can't, chef. It's too complicated. Then fuck off. I can do impressions of them, but the joke got across,
Yeah.
and if you
Yeah.
laughed at
Yeah.
it, great. If not, not my problem. Anywho, but again, can you just imagine Benoit Blanc in like a gourmet kitchen of some kind, or
Mm.
just even in a fast food place, just trying to figure out how the inner workings of restaurant work and just figuring it out. I
We
think
did.
it's funny.
I
It
mean,
can totally work.
I don't know if you saw it. There was that interesting kind of like I guess it was meant to be a horror film to some degree. Of oh, what was it? It was released not too long ago. I feel maybe it might have been this year. It might have been a little bit longer ago, but it was that film of a super high tier chef who cooks only for rich people, like inviting a bunch of rich people to an island and basically killing them.
Oh, the menu. The menu.
The
Yeah, I saw
menu,
that.
that's it.
Great movie.
Yes, maybe something
Mhm.
like that sort of style potentially.
Mm. That could, but then again, a premise like this is basically Glass Onion again. So not
True.
like obviously you can change it up a bit,
Yes,
but
yes.
like get rid of the island and everything. Yeah, that can work. That could be a way to do it.
It'd be interesting. I like
Point
that. I think I like the
point
fandom
is,
idea more though.
of course you would. Honestly, I do too. But anyway, I think they can do a lot with this. So as long as they continue having fun doing it and they decide to
Yes.
keep making it, I'm looking forward to whatever Knives Out 4 is gonna be.
Yeah. I mean, especially if they continue to improve every single film. Absolutely. And they have been.
I I will say though, if let's assume that I called it, and you get one of those two ideas as the fourth film. Okay, assuming.
Hmm.
The one thing I think though, one of the things that they already have to face is that I think this one that Wake Up Dead Man kind of set up a high bar in terms of how the film looks and feels. And
Mm.
if you go for something that's a bit lesser than that, it can hurt it. So another question would be, let's assume they take one of those ideas, hypothetically. How are you going to film it and make it look so that it won't feel like a step down from Wake Up Dead Man? That's something I'm
It's
interested to see.
true because it's hard to. I mean, filming in like a church style building, buildings like this, right? They lend, in my opinion, they definitely lend a more artsy feeling to a film, I would say, because just the architecture and how you can play with lighting in buildings like this. In a convention hall, you don't really have that kind of
Well,
that striking scenery.
you can design it forever. You can find the right building, doing location
True,
scouts.
true.
You can play with whatever the
Especially if you're
convention
doing like
is.
say a mystery convention. I feel like they
Yeah.
would hold their convention in weird places. So no, you're fair in that
Mhm.
one. Like if you're doing a convention like that potentially. Or you can just do it with any fandom and kind of get away with holding it in a weird place potentially because fandoms are weird. As you said, they're weird.
Yeah.
They're dumb sometimes, and that's okay.
Mhm. Yeah. But
I will
the
say
point is,
something that did cross my mind while talking
mhm.
about this. Would you be interested? Because it feels like they kind of have a little bit of this set up, but they've never done anything with it. And I don't know if I want this or not, but would you be interested in them doing a film that's way more focused on Benoit Blanc himself, and it's that kind of Sherlock Holmes versus Moriarty style of thing, where it's Benoit
You
Blanc
know something?
versus like his counter opposite, basically.
Yeah, Ola, if we're going to make a movie where Blanc is supposed to go against his ultimate enemy, you know, if it's supposed to be the one where that pushes him to his limits, and I think I wouldn't mind that,
Hmm.
but I also think it needs to be the final one. If they decide
Mm,
this is going to be the final Knives Out ever, this is where the story ends. That one would need to be the Blanc story. This is supposed to be the one
that's
where
fair.
Blanc is not
I would agree.
the superhero that shows up out of nowhere to save the day. No, no, no. This is the one where he needs to face some sort of a personal loss. This is the one where he
Yes.
needs to develop.
Yes. I agree. And then win at the very end of it all. And that's kind of like, all right, Knives Out is done now. I agree. That's a very good ending for this series of films.
Yeah,
That's fair.
because if you end on just another mystery, it's gonna be like, okay, it was nice, it was fun. If you leave on a strong note, that means you left an impact on the movie world. And
Hmm.
I think
Hmm.
because I feel these movies did leave an impact. Like Benoit Blanc is arguably one of the best characters created in modern cinema, if you ask me.
I mean, it's
So
also like I don't think we've gotten mystery films like these in quite some time, really. Right?
Nothing really come, nothing really comes to mind
Not saying we've never
in
got
terms.
mystery films, but
No,
like
we obviously got
this.
some, but like in recent years, like maybe there is something that I'm missing or forgetting at the moment. But like, I mean, I heard that the
I can go
most recent
back.
Batman movie, like I think one of the most recent Batman movie, the one with Robert Pattinson, I heard
Mhm.
this one is leaning a bit more towards the detective side of things,
Interesting.
but it's still Batman, right? It's
Yeah.
not like he's the world's greatest detective, but it's still a superhero movie. You get what I
Yes.
mean?
Yes. Yeah. No, fair, fair.
So,
Yeah, I can go
but now,
back and name the Clue movie from way back in the day.
yeah, but that's the thing you ask recently. I
Yes.
am trying to think about any recent.
Yeah, I don't
Nothing
think
comes to mind.
to me it doesn't. Maybe other people are out there can say like, no, no, this. So let us know. But yeah, so I think it's definitely left an impact, and in that it shows that films like this are still popular. They're still enjoyable, and they can still do well and make a lot of money, right?
Yeah. So that
So
being said, everything. Anything else to say?
no, go watch Knives Out. Wake Up Dead Man.
Well, if you haven't, then you just listen to us spoil the entire movie. So,
True, but it's still fun
but
to watch, I would say, even with the spoiler.
yeah,
I mean, you can attest. Did
mhm,
you enjoy your second watch just as much as the first?
definitely.
Yeah, so there you
Definitely.
go.
Um, well, with all that said, that's it for this episode of the Outcast. We hope you enjoyed it. What did you think about Wake Up Dead Man? And in what scenario would you put Benoit Blanc in if you
Mm.
got to write the next Knives Out? You can tell us all about it in the comment section below, on our Twitter, which is Berkcast with capital B, capital C, and on our Tumblr, which is Berkcast Teams. So until the next episode, I was HC.
I was Wolf.
And we will see you all next time. Take care.
Bye bye.